Well, Jeff, the question is that remains to be seen, but the U.S. president's attention, we should add, is really being pulled in several directions these days. As for the EC president's speech, let's get more analysis with Robert Moran. He's a partner at the Brunswick Group, a strategic consulting firm here in Washington. Robert, welcome to the program. So Juncker really covered a lot of things, from Brexit to EU to infighting over Brexit, but really did not make a whole lot of mention about transatlantic trade tensions, or really the bigger issue right now, a major trade dispute between China and the United States. What do you make of that?
Well, it's very interesting. In late August, Reuters polled a large number of American economists, over 100 economists, and asked them to forecast the U.S. growth rate. The combined forecast was a deceleration of U.S. growth to about half of what it is currently today in a couple quarters from now. Part of that is estimated to be due to, number one, U.S.-China trade deceleration and some challenges there. But there's also, in the notes on the survey of these economists, an open-ended question about whether the dynamic we're getting in terms of trade protectionism between U.S. and China in the trade war could spill over, and this trade war approach, spills over to other countries and creates a less liberal trading order, which would then slow down economic growth. And so I think that's what a number of the trading blocs around the world are struggling with. Are we seeing this as a harbinger of more sort of trade barriers, or is this a temporary sort of blip on the radar? I think that's an open question.
Well, I just found it interesting that because this is such an important story economically between these two economic powers, and really no mention on that. And he really didn't mention Trump by name, but this is what he did say. He said Europe can no longer be assured that the commitments entered into the past will still be respected in the future. Yesterday's alliances may no longer be tomorrow's alliances. Many say this was a direct reference to President Trump. He's withdrawn from the TPP. He's withdrawn from the Paris Climate Agreement. Go on and on. How much, Robert, has withdrawing from all these agreements weakened the United States politically and economically?
I think so how much has it weakened America politically? I think significantly. I think if you go back in time, I think the president's comments on NATO were even more problematic and are actually the larger of the problems in the transatlantic alliance. I think those NATO comments are very difficult. Economically, I don't know. Economically, the transatlantic trade ties are enormous, and the Atlantic is one of the most heavily crossed bodies of water in terms of trade. I would point out that it's complex in that the Europeans have some challenges too. You know, TTIP, the long ago trade deal that we were supposed to try to get, fell apart in part because of, if you go back in time, very Trumpian opposition in Europe to some of these trade measures, to a more liberal trading order. And so in retrospect, we should have seen that the opposition to TTIP in Europe was actually a harbinger of some of the more conservative assaults on the liberal trading order. And we didn't see that coming.
All right. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. Robert Moran, thank you so much.